All right, y'all, it is official. The stock market is closed and 2024 is over, at least from the stock market perspective, and we're up 24% on the year. Ironic, correct? Right? So the S&P 500 in 2024 closes at being up 24%, which is crazy now that you think about it. But the main thing is this. What did we learn? Especially, what did we learn from our winners in our portfolio in 2024, and what can we take with us into 2025? So I'm going to give you my top 5 winners, what I did with them, and then what I'm going to take with me in 2025. And again, pull away those winners and what you may want to apply to your portfolio and why. Let's go ahead and break it down. So I'm happy. I'm always happy when we all make money. Okay, because if you just invested in a basic index fund, which I do, usually recommend everybody do. I don't know, I haven't told a single person they shouldn't invest in index funds. Okay, that's wild. Okay, but if you just did that and nothing else, 24% is an incredible gain. And I'm happy because I was one of the people earlier this year that said, hey, I don't really think we are going to be in a recession. There were people really rooting for that and rooting for a crash, and it didn't happen, which again is a good thing. So we were up 24%. These stocks were up way more than that. First, starting with Constellation Energy. This one for me was up 93%. I bought it in December of last year. I sold all of it. It's all gone. Okay, I took my 93%, secured the bag on that one. Now this was in my public account, which you can see all of what I currently own there. Now this is a replacement. I'll talk about that in the lessons here near the end of the video, but sold it all, took my gains. There was a reason as to why, but this is something I don't think we talk enough about, but I feel like you should know this. I feel like you inherently know this, but maybe I don't say it enough. But the stuff that we do talk about on this channel, I practice what I preach. I put my money where my mouth is. We talked about energy stocks. Our billionaires are putting their money in energy stocks. I showed you the screenshots and all that stuff about when I bought NRG. I also, you could have saw this on public last year when I bought Constellation Energy. So when I said people was putting their money in energy stocks, I was one of those people as well. Now, I have made my gains. I'm not being greedy. I'm taking that money off the table because I'm getting ready to do something with that money in 2025. So again, I'll talk a little bit about the replacement part of that. But Constellation Energy, thank you for your service. I really, really appreciate it. Thank you, Constellation Energy. All right. Next one here is FICO. FICO, again, an incredibly great stock. One we have talked about just a few times on this channel. Maybe I didn't yell at it enough, but made 97% on this one. This is a trim. I am still holding on to FICO. This is my favorite type of sell, when I consider just a piece of it and continue to hold. Now, this one was on public. My goal, and I, again, practice what I preach here, this started to make up like 8% of my portfolio, so I need to sell a good chunk of it, just 3%, but sell some of it to get back down to 5%. So that is what I did here. Take that money, put it elsewhere, and really in index funds in this case. So I just sold it, brought it down a bit. No major deal, but that's all I did with FICO. Mind my business there. Interesting thing for FICO moving into 2025. I don't know the answer to this. This is something I will be looking up next week because the rest of this week I ain't doing nothing. I'm gonna record videos for y'all. Got some other work I gotta do, but outside of that, I'm not doing nothing. Spend time with the kids. But there's a story that came out. I haven't read it yet because I told you I wasn't doing nothing. Was that credit card delinquencies have hit, I guess, a new all-time high. I don't know what that means for FICO. I'm sure it's going to mean something more for American Express, Discover, and all the other credit card companies, and even banks perhaps, because they own the cards. They're the ones who actually get paid for that. FICO just makes the credit scores. Okay, maybe they become more important perhaps. I don't know. That is something I am curious to see whether or not this is going to impact FICO itself. Question. Okay, I don't know. But up 97%, I'll take that gain. The biggest gain so far, but there is an asterisk to give context here, was Apple. Apple was up 104% for me. I made 104% on Apple. Asterisk number 1, this was a trim for me. Okay, this one made up close to 9% of my portfolio. Probably overdue for a trim. This was also on public. if you follow me from the very beginning on Public, you know I've had this. Once the clock hits midnight, I will have had this for close to 5 years at this point in time. And once you have a stock for that long and you keep investing and keep investing, it's going to grow a bit. So I had to trim back. So at 9%, trimming it all the way back down to 4, I had to sell quite a bit. And I've also had it for that long, so it's kind of natural for it to grow as much as it did. So that is why it was up 104%. I would say this year was okay. It was fine for Apple, but I wouldn't put it in the pantheon of great stocks for 2024. But, it did fine. But it's up that high because I've had it for that long. Speaking of 2025, we talked about doing a workshop about what you need to know for 2025, what to invest in for this coming year, and also what to avoid for this coming year. That workshop, we ready. It's outlined. I've started recording the content. You can go ahead and pre-register for that course here, buildingbread.com/2025. And the workshop will start on January 5th. You can pre-register now, but it starts on January 5th and it closes. It closes on the 17th. Okay? So at 17th, you can't register no more. I'm not offering no more. Okay? So it is limited. If you register, you will continue to have access to it. Okay? You're not going to be kicked out. But we will not be doing registrations after that. And everything you need to know, even if you have no experience, what to invest in, how to protect your money in 2025 should things not go the way we expect, and also how to maximize your money in 2025 as well. And regardless of what happens with the new administration, new laws, we're going to have you all in the right spaces. So go ahead and register. This link right here. All right. Next is a company I actually forgot about, and I don't think we talk nearly enough about this year. Maybe because I bought it last year. That was Recent Networks. Recent Networks, for me, made 88%. I sold all of it. I got up off of all of those shares. I'll tell you why here in a sec. The company is still doing quite well. Nothing wrong with the stock. I also want to tell you that just because I sold all of it doesn't mean there's something wrong with it. So just, again, you say, hey, Kevin sold all of it, and let me just go and sell everything too. You don't have to. You do not have to, okay? There's a reason why I sold. It's a part of my strategy. I'll tell you why right after this one, okay? Last one was Decker. Now, Decker made 80% for me. I bought Decker. I'll have to double check this. I want to say I bought Decker. I had to have bought it at the end of last year. At the end of last year, so I should have had it for an entire year. Sold this one, I think December 29th of 2023 is when I bought it, I think. This was in my IRA as well as Recent Networks. So both of those were in my IRA. Constellation Energy was also in my IRA, so no tax implications there. Yeah, made 80% on Decker. Sold all of that. Decker was a very interesting stock because it took off and did quite well for, I would say, the first 2.5 quarters of the year. We had talked about it, and then something happened. Something happened. The stock started to tank, and we stopped talking about it. And then the stock recovered and is now one of the better stocks on Wall Street. I don't know what happened. I don't know why it tanked. I'm glad, obviously, that it did recover. It made me look good by the end of the year, thank God. But I went ahead and got up out of it. I didn't like the volatility and said, hey, I'm up 80. Let me just take my 80 and move on somewhere and just go ahead, close it out, sell, no tax implications, and move on. So what are some of the lessons that we can learn from some of those? Number one, why did I sell some of these, like, completely? What was the point in that? Why not continue to just hold these for forever and ever? Now, again, I wanted to make a good clarification that most of these, Constellation Energy Group, Recent Networks, and Decker were all in my IRA. FICO and Apple were on Public. So all of these, number one, all of these were sold after I've had them for a year. So for me, I didn't have to, so anything in my IRA, if I sell, I'm not paying any taxes anyway. Okay, that's what the IRA is for. So that's number one. I don't have to worry about taxes for those. For Apple and for FICO, 97% gain, 104% gain. I will have a tax bill at the end of the day for those. However, I'm paying a lower tax rate because those are long-term capital gains. I can offset those if I sold stocks that lost money. I'll need to see if I sold some stocks that lost money. But your boy didn't lose that much this year. Okay, I need to double check that. But I don't really think I did because the market was up. I really, maybe Nike, if we sold Nike this year, but I don't think, I know my son owned Nike. I don't think I own Nike this year. But in either case, I'll need to see. But I don't mind paying capital gains tax. If I made that much money, I can afford a long-term capital gains tax, which is much, much smaller than income taxes. So there's that. So that's number one. Okay, number two, when I sell something completely, it is usually what I call a replacement. Now, in my portfolio, in the way that this is just my investing strategy, you do what you do, but I'm just going to explain what I do and why I do it that way. Whether it is my IRA, my public account, whatever it is, I like to have a manageable number. I try to keep 10, no more than 15. That's a manageable number for me. I know what I own. I know what to research. I know when things change, all that type of stuff, right? If I just keep buying more and more and more and have 20, 30, 40 stocks, that's very, very difficult to understand and control and rebalance if I need to. So what I prefer to do, especially moving into 2025, is say, all right, Constellation Energy, you did great. I'm gonna sell, and I'm just gonna take that money and put it into what I think is gonna be what I hope to be the best stock for 2025. So for example, sell Constellation Energy, take all that money and replace it and put in Palantir, for example, or take all that money, I'm not doing this, but take all that money, put it in Coca-Cola or something. Coca-Cola is not something I plan on buying in 2025, but that is an example of what I'm trying to do. Keep things manageable and also put myself in position for what I think is going to do the absolute best for 2025. Speaking of energy, I would need to kind of reshuffle the deck and see if energy is still going to be the best place for 2025. I'm not sure right now. I'm not saying it won't be. But we had talked about that several months ago. We need to go back and refresh. What I am trying to do, and we've talked about this, I think with, I think it was HowNet Aerospace, right? I think right now, and we'll talk more about this during the end of the week, not the end of the week, during the rest of this week, how I think defense stocks are going to make more sense. We've talked more about how finance stocks might make more sense with the new administration, how Congress feels on what type of laws they're going to pass. So if that's going to be the case, maybe I can switch out one energy stock for a finance stock. Maybe I can switch out Decker Outdoors, which was kind of clothing, I'm not going to call it fashion, more of an outdoor stock with a defense stock, right? Or an aerospace stock or something like that. That might make more sense, right? So that is kind of what I'm doing. Take the gains, take the money, replace it with something that you think is going to do better for 2025. That's how I'm doing it while still keeping my entire portfolio manageable. How many stocks, how many individual stocks should you own? That's up to you. Okay, I like 5 to 10 with the majority of my money in index funds. We'll talk more about that in the workshop around what percentages make the most sense for most people. But again, I've talked about my 5% rule, and 5% is what I personally enjoy being because I can afford to be wrong. So if I move my money into something and it does not end up going the way I expect, it's not going to tank my entire portfolio, right? I'm still got the index fund holding me down, but I've got, stocks I think are going to do quite well that are going to give me that extra boost to beat the S&P 500 if that happens. If not, we're still going to be good. So those are the stocks that did incredibly well. There are a few that did exactly what the S&P 500 did, which is totally fine. Some that did just better. But when you have 5 stocks that are a minimum 8% gain, those are the ones that I absolutely want to pull the best lessons from. However, those aren't all the stocks to learn from. We've got some stocks that we were absolutely wrong about last year. I guess it's going to be last year by the time that you're watching this, and some other things that we may want to pay attention to for 2025. You want to know what those things are, you absolutely want to subscribe, but you also want to check out these videos next.